Good evening and welcome to the February 26, 2024 regular meeting of the Tredyffrin East Town School Board. We'll begin always with a salute to the flag. Regular school board meetings are business meetings that are open to the public, during which we provide several opportunities for public comment on items before the board. The first comment period is reserved for announced additional agenda items and items on the consent agenda only. Additional public comment will be heard for the action listed under other actions under consideration. The final comment period near the end of the meeting is reserved for all other matters of concern, official action, or deliberation, which are or may be before the TESD Board of Directors and which are not covered by the other comment periods. Each public comment period is reserved for residents and taxpayers. Additionally, the board will accept comments from sitting public officials for non-campaigning purposes, and by agreement with the TEA and TENIG, the board will accept comments from the union presidents. All comments should be directed to the board as a whole or to the presiding officer, myself. No comments or questions should be directed to individual board members. All public comments and responses should be in the spirit of civil public discourse. Also, please be aware that intentionally disrupting a lawful meeting or the administration of a government function is a criminal offense in Pennsylvania. The school board values the opportunity to hear from the community in person and appreciates your cooperation in advance. Next on the agenda are student reports. We'll hear from our student representatives, Lex Shah and Ayan Kumar.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see you all here today. There's a lot going on at Conestoga. First, we just started our second semester, and everyone just finished course selection for the next year, and seniors are just getting ready as they're hearing back from colleges and universities. Next, we have a couple fundraisers that are coming up. First is Minithon, which is next month's March 15th, which is a fundraising event for childhood cancer and cancer research. We hope to get a lot of students to come and participate in events there and raise a lot of money. Also, we have a Chipotle fundraiser this Saturday where people can go to Chipotle in the Gateway location from 4 to 8 p.m. and 33% of the funds will go to the junior class, hopefully to support a cheaper junior prom ticket. Also, there's going to be the student-faculty game this Thursday where students can face different teachers and administrators in a basketball game, and those funds will be going to the senior class. Next, DECA, which is a business competition, was a recent big event at Conestoga. Many students attended, a total of 180, and 38 qualified for the international round, which is going to be in Anaheim, California. A lot of students are really looking forward to that. And then the big news is Little Mermaid, which is the play that's happening right now. It starts on Wednesday and ends on Saturday. There's different shows each day, and there's 2 shows on Saturday that people can attend. And also something special on Saturday is that you can meet the different characters and the actors that are part of the show if any kids or anyone wants to go see the actors. Tickets are on sale on stogatheater.com, and we hope to see you all there.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lex Shah. Thank you, Ayan, for shouting out the senior class fundraiser. That'll be on Thursday at 5:30. You can go to it, and then right after, you can go to the musical. Again, I recommend you go to both. They're great Conestoga events. Now, today I'm here to talk about Conestoga sports, and as the #1 Conestoga sports fan, self-claimed, I would like to say that we had a lot of success during our winter season. Our girls basketball team is still in the district playoffs. They play in the district semifinals on Wednesday, and if they win, they'll play in the district finals on Saturday. Our boys basketball team had a great run in the district playoffs. Their season sadly ended last weekend. Our girls swimming team is going to states along with our boys swimming team. Our wrestling team is sending 2 wrestlers to states, Miles Workentine and Ryan Kramer. Our squash team had their season end this past weekend at the national tournament. They played great throughout the season, and they finished top 30 in the nation. Our ice hockey team season is over, and they had their senior night last Friday. It was a great event. Our track team, our winter track team, sent 12 athletes to the state competition, and there was a new Conestoga school record for the boys 4x200. Again, it was a new record, and they placed fourth in the state, which is the highest Conestoga's ever finished for that event, so they did a great job. Last thing with sports is that the PIAA paperwork for the spring sports season, which is starting up really soon, is due March 4th, and the Parent Power School portal. Our athletic director, Mr. Peachin, made me focus on this during my speech, so again, I'll say it again. It is due March 4th in the Parent Power School portal or under the abbreviation PPP. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for that update. The next item on our agenda are student and staff highlights. But before we begin the highlights, I'd like to draw attention to the student artwork, which was supplied by TE Middle School for this evening's meeting. 8th grade artists at TE Middle School are using art to communicate important ideas. They were inspired by artist Dane Tilghman, who attended the TE School District and has established himself as one of the premier painters of African art in America. Tilghman uses his art to celebrate others, and he created a painting for TE Middle School called One Love. To convey his message, he incorporated the word love and abstract images of people to reference the diversity in the school's student body. 8th graders communicate words of unity, hope, and peace to convey a message of equality through their art. I'd also like to recognize I got a large poster here at the start of the meeting. We had School Board Appreciation Month last month, but I also got a large poster here that's just down over here. What's it? Okay, we'll put up. It's a nice poster here from signed by the Beaumont kindergarten classes. So I would be remiss if I didn't recognize that today as well. Thank you, Beaumont Kindergarten. So, with that, now please join board members Sue Teedy and Rachel Weil and TE Middle School Principal Anthony DeLella in greeting students and staff during the highlights session of tonight's board meeting. Special Education Supervisor Carolyn Macrina will be our reader for this evening.
To be here this evening, and I would like the students from TE Middle School to line up in right in order, right by Mr. Cataldi, and we're going to get started. When you line up, after I call your name, you're going to go and shake hands up front, and then you can pick up your certificate over here at the side with Mrs. Roy. All right, each month, the Board of School Directors invites TE students and staff members who have demonstrated outstanding achievement to attend the regular school board meeting to be recognized for their efforts. The board invites parents and teachers to accompany their students this evening as the board recognizes them. Those who are unable to be here tonight will receive their certificates at their schools. TE Middle School students win grade level spelling bee. Congratulations to the following TE Middle School students for their accomplishments in winning the grade level spelling bees. 8th graders, Ashta Mishra and Gia Gandhi. Seventh graders, Radima Puri and Adaji Paramal. Sixth graders, Shrista Rajendran and Grayson Afuriero. Fifth graders, Jane Rafter and Zahan Dodawali. These students competed in a school-wide spelling bee held on Thursday, January 11th, and encountered several challenging words. Our school champion is Shrishta Rajendran, who competed in the Chester County Spelling Bee on February 7th. The Spelling Bee was organized by 8th grade teacher Jean Baker. Congratulations to all of our Spelling Bee winners. Okay. TE Middle School students read to Timothy School elementary students. 8th grade teacher Victoria Vlahos's reading classes visited the Timothy School to read to the elementary students. The TE Middle School students read, "We are going on a bear hunt," to a small group of students, and the elementary students acted out different parts of the story. After the group reading, TE Middle School students paired with younger students to read to them one-on-one. The TE students included Sebastian Carlson, Afia Dimi, Victoria Fumana, Grace Hummel, Lauren McGrath, Kevin Barnes, Ben Asaka, Brenna Hahn, and Jacob Rajewski. I'm sorry if there's two more. Ryan Seeger and Annabelle Story. Congratulations and thank you for all you do for us. The TE Middle School Science Olympiad Club members receive award at the Springhouse Invitational. The Science Olympiad Club members, under the direction of the TE Middle School teacher, Dr. Jyoti Stromatz, competed in an invitational competition on Saturday, January 27th at Springhouse Middle School in Allentown, PA. The following students received awards at the Springhouse Invitational competition. Shengrin Wang and Vihan Joshi placed 7th in air trajectory. Tavisha Joni and Gia Gandhi placed 6th in anatomy and physiology. Eric Corin and Savio Sandeep placed 6th in ecology. Sorry. Arush Gupta and Vivan Panagati placed 7th in microbe mission. Gia Nag and Gia Gande placed 4th in wheeled vehicle. And Arush Gupta and Shrihan Guma placed 8th in Write It, Do It. Congratulations to all of our competitors. TE Middle School 8th grade Bulldog Press writers create a new look. Extra, extra. TE Middle School student newspaper, the Bulldog Press, took on a new look this year. Under the direction of advisor Dr. Catherine McDermott, The paper utilized a different layout, more pictures, and showcased a greater variety of student pieces. Congratulations to our 8th graders, Tavisha Johnny, Gia Gandhi, Savio Sandeep, and Rotwika Carver. Thank you for taking the lead and covering so many stories over the years. Thanks to the students' leadership and feedback, the Bulldog Press continues to grow, change, and evolve. Congratulations to all of you for your outstanding efforts and achievements. We commend you for your accomplishments. Thank you.
Thank you again. It was great to see all of those achievements and be able to recognize those. Now is the time of our board meeting where we'll take a pause for those who are here primarily for the student and staff recognitions to leave if they so choose, so they can go back and do things like homework or other more fun activities than our board meeting. So we'll take a break of about 5 minutes. Okay, so let's go ahead and resume our board meeting. The next item on the agenda is announcement of additional agenda items. We have none. So we will move on to public participation from district residents and district taxpayers regarding items on the consent agenda. This is a portion of the agenda where we get public participation from district residents and district taxpayers regarding any items on the consent agenda only. If you would like to make a comment on the consent agenda, please line up here at the microphone. When you come to the microphone, state your name and township of residence. We will end comment with the last person in line. All public comments this evening will be limited to 3 minutes. Again, this comment period is limited to the consent agenda only. Since responses to your questions will be included in your 3 minutes, please make your entire comment, and then the board will determine an appropriate response. Do we have any comments on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is board action regarding amendment of agenda to include additional agenda items from Section 5. We have no additional agenda items, so now we will move on to the consent agenda. Although board action is required, it is generally unnecessary to hold discussion on these items. With the consent of all board members, they are therefore grouped, and approval is given in one motion. In the event a board member wants to discuss any item, the board president will move it to an appropriate place on the agenda. A board member may vote nay or abstain with respect to a consent agenda item without the need for removing the item from the consent agenda. The action under consideration is that the Board of School Directors approves the following recommendations on the consent agenda as printed on page 7 of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a proper first and a second, so I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Hearing none, passes 9-0. With that, we will turn to the acceptance and acknowledgement of gifts that appear on the consent agenda on page 77, and for that, I will turn to Vice President Teedy.
Thank you. One of our local medical providers, Patients First, has donated $1,000 to the Tredyffrin Easttown School District. We're very appreciative of this donation and all the donations that we receive from our extremely generous community. So we wish to thank Patients First, and we will be sending out a thank you note to them very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Teedy. We will now move on to the remainder of our agenda. We have no priority discussion this evening, so we will move on to committee and ambassador reports. We will start with policy and Ms. Susan Audrain.
Thank you, President Kantorsik. The Policy Committee met on February the 6th, 2024. The following policies and regulations were discussed and are on tonight's consent agenda for approval. Policy and Regulation 7040, use of district facilities. The policy and regulation were revised for clarity to the classifications of users, the process for requesting facilities, and priority in scheduling. User requests for gym space for Class A, B, and C users are due by August the 1st in order to give priority in scheduling. Processing of requests will begin after August the 1st. All users in any classification are welcome to submit their requests, but A, B, and C users will be processed first. In-season sports will receive priority over those requesting use for out-of-season sports. When users within a particular classification have competing requests, the business manager or designee shall make reasonable efforts to resolve the request before rendering a final decision. The final decision to allocate the use of facilities shall be based on several relevant factors, including but not limited to the estimated number of TE resident participants, the frequency of use, and historical pattern of responsible use. The appendices were updated with additional rental spaces and the corresponding rental fees, as well as updated labor rates. In addition, the application and agreement form was added to the regulation and revised to include additional information from the requester and an attestation of the information submitted. The regulation will go into effect upon adoption of the policy. Policy and Regulation 9131, nomination and election process for board officers. The policy was revised to establish the procedure for determining a temporary president. In case of a tie for the senior holdover member of the board, absent agreement between or among board members with equal tenure of the board, the superintendent or designee will randomly select a temporary president. In addition, revisions were made to clarify that if there is only one nominee for president or vice president, the vote may be conducted by oral roll call vote, and no vote to suspend this policy is necessary. If there are multiple nominees, the election shall be conducted by written ballot, with the board secretary receiving, recording, and announcing the vote of each board member. The regulation was not revised, and it will be marked as reviewed upon adoption of the policy. In addition, the following were discussed. Policy 4100, compensation and related benefits. The policy did not have any recommended changes, so it will be marked as reviewed and posted. Policy and Regulation 4223, military leave. The policy did not have any recommended changes. The regulation was revised to update leave entitlements for district employees who are Pennsylvania National Guard members or members of any other reserve component of the military. After discussion, it was decided to bring back the regulation to the next committee meeting. The following policies and regulations were discussed, and further details will be provided later in the meeting, as the policies are listed on tonight's agenda for approval on a first reading basis. Policy 4500, career growth. Policy 4920, substitute teachers. Policy 4930, student teachers. The next meeting of the Policy Committee is scheduled for March the 5th at 7 p.m. at the Tredeffen Easttown Administrative Offices. That's my report.
Thank you, Ms. Audrain. We'll now turn to Diversity Committee with Dr. Robert Singh.
Thank you. The District Diversity Committee met on Wednesday, February 21st, 2024, at the TE Administrative Office. The meeting brought together representatives from different student religious clubs to share information about their organization. The goal of the meeting was to discuss how students' participation in a club based on their religious identity fosters a sense of belonging for them. The meeting was led by student leaders from the Shine Club, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, the Muslim Student Association, the Jewish Student Alliance, and spectacularly, last-minute addition of the Valley Forge Middle School Bible Club. I say that because it's inspiring to see the middle school. The students used this opportunity to give an overall description of their clubs, the faith they identify with, the activities they take part in, the times they meet, and how they serve their school. Students also explained what led them to join a faith-based club, the spiritual, social, personal, and mental benefits that they receive from the club, as well as how they've grown while being a member. Some of the highlights they shared include gaining a deeper understanding of their faith and being able to share their faith with like-minded peers while fostering discussions about prayer. Students also value the opportunity to develop meaningful and real lifelong relationships, build community, establish a safe space to share testimonies, struggles, and prayers, build confidence, and develop leadership skills. They celebrate the fact that they have peers praying for them and supporting their success. Each club shared that they are welcoming and inclusive to all students, regardless of religious affiliation, and they appreciate having the opportunity to include information about their holidays in the library display area. A new opportunity at Conestoga that was recently initiated by the Muslim Student Association Club is the Quiet Room. This is a place available for any student or staff member to utilize when they need a completely quiet space. The students are grateful for the opportunity to participate in these clubs and feel a sense of belonging. The club leaders also express gratitude for the support they have received from staff members who serve as the club sponsors. Club meetings are held before or after school and determined by the club leadership. In addition, tonight's report, we would like to wish Ms. Esther Long, our last known surviving student of the school fight of 32 to 34, a happy 99th birthday on Wednesday, February 28th. Our next meeting will be held on April 3rd, 2024 at the TEAO. All are welcome to attend. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Singh, and yes, thank you for reminding us of Ms. Esther Long's birthday. 99 is a great year. Okay, let's move forward. Our next report is on finance. Dr. Roberta Hatinsky.
Thank you. We last met on Monday, February 12th, and we had our monthly and year-to-date financial reports. Overall revenues are higher by approximately $6.5 million over last year. The increase in revenue continues to be due to collection, the percentage of real estate tax, and about $1 million more in investment income than was originally budgeted. Real estate transfer tax continues to be lower from last year. State revenues are slightly higher and federal revenue is slightly lower. Overall revenue is almost $149 million, which is approximately 87% of this year's budget, and expenses and encumbrances are at about $148 million, or 83.29% of budget. We then had our usual student services update. Dr. Grappi stated that the nursing contracting supplies and school psychologists remains in line with our budget. And Ms. Roy also stated that all 5 elementary schools are fully staffed with support staff, and all areas of student services remain in line with this year's budget. And the Chester County Intermediate Unit bill was received and also fell within the within the budget projection, rather. Next, we discussed the budget development and calendar. We are sort of early in the process still, but Mr. McDonald shared that we did apply for exceptions with the Pennsylvania Department of Education, and we also received an updated budget projection for this year for 23-24, and expenses are currently about $300,000 under budget, and revenues are about $1.1 million over what was expected, as I said before, due to interest income that was not anticipated. But we will continue to monitor these all the way through June as we get closer and closer to the end of the year and the final budget adoption. Then the main event of the evening was discussing capital projects and financing. We had representatives from Raymond James, our bond underwriters, and PFM, our financial advisors, there to help us talk through the capital projects costs and financing over the next few years. Mr. McDonald discussed the capital sources and uses slide, which we're continually updating. That shows the expenditures planned for projects over the next several years. And those numbers will continue to be revised as we get more information and bids returned from the athletic fields project, and also potentially the 6th elementary school project. We discussed issuing bonds to pay for the athletic field, and as well as our infrastructure projects that are ongoing that we do every year, and potential purchase of the 1200 Swedesford Road property. He asked the committee to provide feedback on moving forward with the reimbursement resolution discussed at a prior finance committee meeting. This resolution would allow us to use future bond proceeds to pay back the district any funds expended for capital projects or property purchase, such as that potential 1200 Swedesford Road purchase. So that has been forwarded. The committee agreed that reimbursement resolution, which would provide flexibility in our spending, should be placed on this board agenda. So you'll find it on page 131, and it will be discussed as another action under consideration later in the agenda. Mr. McDonald also discussed the slides provided by Raymond James and PFM regarding potential bond issues and the schedule and timing of those issues, and related debt service, which will need to be added to our budgets in coming years to pay for about $100 million of borrowing on that order over the next several years to pay for all those projects. Our advisors from Raymond James talked about the timing and the advantages of borrowing now, that the current rates make borrowing attractive and would allow us to generate significant earnings from interest income to offset borrowing rates. And we also discussed the timing of the bond issuance, and the schedule of meetings over the next several months. There's a target of for borrowing in June, or issuing the bonds in June, but we also discussed the possibility of an earlier date, and the pros and cons of the sort of the shape of the borrowing, and the timing of borrowing larger or smaller amounts up front. So that discussion will continue into the next finance meeting. We also discussed a parameters resolution that would set the guidelines for the financing team for those future bond issues, that would set the amount of borrowing, par amount, and interest rate. This parameters resolution would allow the process of gathering all the information needed to produce an official statement and to do the necessary advertising and preparation for the potential bond issue in June. Mr. McDonald stated that the parameters resolution could be available by the next finance meeting, so we'll be discussing that at our next meeting on March 11th. And then it will be potentially placed on the regular board agenda for discussion on March 18th. So that was it for that meeting. We encourage everyone to attend all finance meetings, and the next one will be March 11th, and we will also have our first budget workshop, which generally deals with, revenues and staffing, and then we have another one on Monday, April 8th at Conestoga High School, another finance meeting followed by another finance workshop in which we deal with the expense side. So as again, all are welcome and encouraged to attend.
Thank you, Dr. Hatinsky. Next report will be Facilities Committee. We'll go back to Dr. Robert Singh.
Thank you. The Facilities Committee met on February 13th at the TEAO. We were joined by representatives from Terranet, HSA, our architects, and Mr. Michael Baskin, one of our EMS captains. We reviewed the 2024 construction report, which includes 4 summer projects that are on schedule to be started. These include HVAC system upgrades for New Eagle Valley Forge, TE Valley Forge Middle School, the Network Operating Center, as well as Conestoga and Devon Elementary, and the other projects are interior renovations and exterior renovations to all the buildings. These are all stated to be started for the summer of this year. Next, we talked about distributed antenna systems and emergency radio service upgrades. Our representative from Terranet talked about this proposal that expands cell coverage for the 4 school district buildings, and at the same time upgrades to the emergency radio service for our emergency responders. We sent a fee letter for the design and scope of this project to be started. We will wait on bids to come back for these system upgrades that are important. The bidding process will begin in May, and the project will likely be completed between June to September of this year. Next, HSA gave us an update of the athletic fields tree removal bid and fee letter. There were 2 bids that were received from the proposal to remove the trees as part of the beginning phase of the athletic fields project. The one low bid came in at 25% under budget, and this is important, not only financially, but also this adds the period of time needed for erosion and sediment controls during the project will be reduced by removing these trees and leaving the stumps until the site clearing takes place. The professional services fees for the athletic fields project remains as originally budgeted, and that has been moved forward onto tonight's consent agenda. Next, we received the 6th elementary school update. As far as the building due diligence period, there have been dimensional surveys and geotechnical studies that have been completed. There have been many findings that the team is putting together regarding the structure, design of the building, and the consultants have been working diligently to complete our diligence period by March 18th, and we will certainly have more updates as this diligence continues. That were the items that were discussed at the meeting. Our next meeting is March 12th, Tuesday, March 12th at the TAO at 7 p.m. All are welcome to attend. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Next, we'll turn to Education Committee report, and Ms. Sue Teedy.
Thank you. The Education Committee met on February 8th and began with a presentation by Ms. Nicole Roy and Dr. Chris Groppe to update the board on the work of the Student Services Department. The district currently has 1,267 students with individual education programs, and this represents 18.3% of the entire student population, which is following along with state norms. Additionally, there are 278 students with what are called 504 accommodation plans. These students, although they do have a disability, do not require specially designed instruction and are followed by various caseworkers in the building. Ms. Roy then presented data on the growth of special ed needs. Given the state disability categories, she noted that the areas of greatest growth in the TE school district over the last 10 years have been in speech and language impairment, emotional disturbances, other health impairments, and autism. Given state requirements for teacher-student ratio by category, Ms. Roy projects that the district will need 3 additional special education teachers next year, as well as 2 more speech therapists. In Pennsylvania, preschool early intervention classes are provided to young children beginning at age 3 when they qualify for special education services. The Chester County Intermediate Unit offers these programs, and the district then funds the services that the students who live in our district receive. Interestingly, TE school district's number of children ages 3 to 5 requiring these services has more than doubled in the last 3 years. On October 1st, there were 97 TE students in such programs, and Ms. Roy noted that as of January 2024, that number had grown to 101 students. More students who require special services will require more space and teachers, and this issue has been discussed as we contemplate the addition of a 6th elementary school. Mr. Groppe then described the need for mental health services to support our students. He described the various mental health programs that are, as well as the nursing and psychological services that are provided by our district to students at all levels. Dr. Toll then presented a summary of the work that the district teachers and administrators have been doing to create a more inclusive learning environment for every student. She described the newly developed dispositions for inclusive instruction. This is a staff development tool which reflects the strategic plan's goal of ensuring that all students feel both included and engaged. It is being implemented at every grade level through faculty meetings, in-service training, workshops, and seminars. Dr. Toll noted that it was Dr. Gusick who initiated this work, and that the creative and collaborative thinking of our teachers and administrators has resulted in nearly a dozen dispositions to be discussed and nurtured in this staff development program. Working together, the goal is to ensure that the classroom environment provides our students with multiple pathways to success. Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, March 7th at 7 p.m. at the District Administration Building on West Valley Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Teedy. Next, we will turn to Ad Hoc Legislative and Ms. Marianne Piccioni.
Thank you. The Ad Hoc Legislative Committee convened on February the 22nd to deliberate on 2 pivotal matters. 1, the resolution in support of fair funding of education, and 2, the resolution opposing Senate Bill 757, the PA Award for Student Success Scholarships, or similar legislation. The session commenced with a comprehensive overview of the resolutions and recent initiatives undertaken by the Chester County School Board Legislative Council. The committee members meticulously examined the proposed resolutions, considering their potential impact on local school boards and their efficacy in shaping legislative outcomes. Anticipated responses from neighboring school boards were reviewed, highlighting the significance of these resolutions in informing and influencing broad educational policies. Following thorough deliberation, the committee arrived at two distinct recommendations. First, it was resolved that the resolution in support of fair funding of education be elevated to the full board for consideration at this evening's February 26th meeting, recognizing its importance in advocating for equitable educational resources. Secondly, the committee advised that the resolution opposing Senate Bill 757, the PA Award for Student Success Scholarships or similar legislation, be deferred for future examination. This decision was made in acknowledgement of the complexity surrounding the issue and the necessity for further analysis and consultation. With these recommendations finalized, the committee concluded its session, underscoring its commitment to advancing initiatives that promote fairness and excellence in education. The next ad hoc legislative committee meeting has not been scheduled. If a date is determined, we will place the date on the district website. Governor Shapiro's proposed 2024-25 budget includes these highlights: a $50 million increase for special education, a $2.4 million increase for career and technical education, $300 million to address environmental repairs in schools, $50 million for school safety, security improvements, $100 million for student mental health services, a $5 million increase for student teacher stipends, $15 million for educator recruitment and professional development, a $32.7 million increase for preschool programs. Charter school funding changes would establish a statewide $8,000 per student per year tuition rate, saving districts about $262 million annually. This information was reported on PennLive.com. PA legislation in the news are bills for evidence-based reading instructions. These are SB Senate Bill 801, that is under first consideration as of February 7th of this year, and House Bill 998, that was referred to the Education Committee on April 24th of last year, 2023. And this is an aside from the Health Department. The PA Health Department has launched a $1 million tuition assistance program aimed at recruiting and retaining emergency medical services professionals. Residents who are 16 years of age or older and have acquired state certification as an emergency medical responder, emergency medical technician, advanced emergency medical technician, or a paramedic after July 1st, 2023, will qualify to get partial tuition reimbursement. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Piccioni. Next, we have ad hoc public information with Dr. Yolanda Allen.
So the Ad Hoc Public Information Committee has not met this year. If a meeting is necessary, we will be sure to give proper notice. Thank you.
Thank you. And now that we've given Ms. Piccioni a breath, we'll go right back to her for the report from the Intermediate Unit Technical School.
The Chester County Intermediate Unit Board of Directors held its monthly meeting on Wednesday, February 21st at the Brandywine campus in Downingtown. A draft of the 2024-25 core occupational education and categorical budgets was presented. The key points are: no increase in proposed core budget contributions by districts, a proposed 4% increase in occupational education tuition rate. The goal for our marketplace program prices for Chester County School Districts is to limit the Act 1 index 5.3%, and categorical budgets do not require local school district funds and represent alternative sources of revenue to deliver services. The CCIU serves as the Network Operations Center for ChescoNet. As part of the cybersecurity initiative, measures were implemented utilizing Rubik backup services to safeguard school districts from ransomware attacks. This service ensures the preservation of an unchangeable copy of essential data, offering protection to the customers. The initiative was expanded to include Rubric for data storage and Wasabi for cloud backups. Wasabi, okay. New initiatives in the Career, Technical, and Customized Education Division expanded the construction trades programs, allowing students to earn industry certifications in carpentry, masonry, plumbing, and HVAC. The cosmetology program was also expanded. Plans for new programs at Pennock's Bridge campus, including dental assisting, agriculture, and construction trades, are in the due diligence phase to ensure viability and interest. Career training fairs for Technical College High School students will be held across the three campuses. These events will facilitate connections between seniors and 120 recruiters, representing 28 diverse businesses and industries, and provide over 1,000 interviews, foster real-life connections, and create potential job opportunities for the students. To celebrate School Board Appreciation Day, I received the book, How Not to Be a Terrible School Board Member. I have a lending library here for all of our. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Piccioni. I may take you up on your offer. Okay, so now we will move forward on the agenda to other actions under consideration, policies recommended for first reading. The action under consideration is that the Board of School Directors approves the following policies, start on page 127 of your agenda, on a first reading basis, as ready for adoption at the next regular meeting. Policy 4500, career growth, Policy 4920, substitute teachers, and Policy 4930, student teachers. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion has a proper first and second. I will turn to Mrs. Audrain for some context.
Thank you, President Kantorsik. The first one is Policy 4500, Career Growth. All employees shall be encouraged to develop increased competence beyond that which they may attain through the performance of their assigned duties. Opportunities provided through the district include district-wide in-service programs, building-based in-service programs, curriculum meetings, and staff development initiatives. Opportunities outside the district include conventions, conferences, and courses for credit, which require prior administrative approval. Policy 4920, substitute teachers. It will be the responsibility of the principal or designee to fill vacancies caused by temporary absences of regular staff members with substitute teachers from a list of approved substitutes furnished by the district's contracted services providers. Substitute teachers serving in the district must meet Pennsylvania's certification requirements, comply with all required background checks, and meet the qualifications established by the board. The rate of pay for substitute teachers will be determined by the board. Policy 4930, student teachers and interns. Each school year, the district shall accept a limited number of student teachers and interns. The administration shall establish mutually satisfactory agreements with institutions relative to a student teacher and intern program. Student teachers and interns shall possess required credentials as established in applicable state law and regulations. And I'd like to thank Dr. Anthony Stevenson and Mark Cataldi for their diligent work at completing the Series 4,000, They've been really working hard, and we'll be discussing further policies at our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Audrain. With that, I will turn to the board. Any comments from the board on these policies? Seeing none, the board now invites residents and taxpayers to comment on these policies. If you have any comments or questions, please step to the microphone and identify yourself. Seeing none, we'll go back to the board. Any further comments? Nope. Seeing none, then we'll take the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Right, ayes have it, 9-0. Okay, we will move to the next item on the agenda, which is resolution for reimbursement regulations as printed in the agenda. The action under consideration is that the Board of School Directors adopts the following resolution for reimbursement regulations that requires the school district to adopt an official intent to reimburse itself from taxable or tax-exempt proceeds for certain capital expenditures made and to be made by this school district in connection with the projects. Resolution is on page 131. I can't help myself, but the lawyer in me needs to clarify that the resolution is not for the district to adopt regulations. It is actually to comply with IRS regulations that already exist. So with that pointy-headed lawyer preface, I will turn. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a proper first and second. I will turn to Mr. McDonald to provide some additional context.
Thank you, President Kantorsek. As both Dr. Hatinsky and Mr. Kantorsek mentioned, this resolution will allow the district some flexibility, and that flexibility comes in the form of any future bond issue that is covered by this resolution, either 60 days retroactive to this date or 3 years forward, can be used to reimburse any kind of capital expenditure for a capital project or some such other infrastructure project that would be using funds other than capital funds. So in other words, you'd be able to reimburse the general fund, and you'd want to do that because you don't want to deplete your general fund reserves when you have the option for bond proceeds. You can't move money back and forth between the capital and the general fund, so this gives you some additional flexibility to do that. You'll recall when we talk about the budget, we talk about protecting the fund balance in the general fund. It allows you to be responsive to contingencies that happen. It allows you to cover typically a budget deficit, which we've done in this district. And there really isn't any downside from a ratings perspective when we do go for a bond issue. Moody's, as long as you have a plan and you have this resolution in place, they typically do not give you any kind of bad check marks for having a spend of fund balance as long as you have a plan like this resolution to reimburse yourself in the future.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Thank you for that explanation.
Sure.
We'll turn to the board. Do we have any comments or questions from the board? Nope. Yes, Mr. Hong.
Yes, Mr. McDonald, are there any particular expenditures that we're anticipating using this resolution to reimburse ourselves for?
Anything that comes out of the general fund prior to that issue. So as Dr. Hatinsky mentioned, if we do go out for a bond issue before the end of this fiscal year, anything we expend during that time we can use to be reimbursing ourselves for. So either the athletic project that she mentioned, any kind of infrastructure projects, and then anything coming out of the 6th elementary school investigation and purchase that we're looking at right now.
Okay, so for example, if we pay the purchase fee for the new elementary school at Sweetsford Road out of the general fund, we're able to reimburse that expenditure
Right.
from a future bond issue.
Correct. Any capital expenditure or capital project expenditure that came out of the general fund would be eligible to be reimbursed by this resolution if you were to then go forward and issue bonds. Those bond proceeds could be used to reimburse that fund.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Yes, Dr. Singh.
So this was a recommendation from our financial advisors as well as our bond, our financial advisors to have in place as part of a comprehensive plan. So when and if we do issue bonds, this is looked at as a favorable way to give us the bond issue without dinging us. Is that
Correct.
fair?
Yeah, that gives you some additional flexibility, and because of the timing of what we've been talking about over the last couple months, it really protects you from, doing something that you then have to spend general fund balance for. So it allows you to be responsive with, the feeling that we are protected by this resolution if we do have bond proceeds.
And is there a cap to the amount of, or the percentage of the project total that you can reimburse yourself up to?
No cap. The only cap would be as defined in the resolution, which we have in there is the larger number that we presented in finance between the two different versions of what we looked at for the capital source and use that Dr. Ratinsky mentioned earlier.
So if we don't issue the full amount of that, the $106 million that's issued, this resolution will still give us that leeway to go up to that amount.
Correct. Right,
Okay.
for the next 3 years beyond.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments from the board for this round? Seeing none, the board now invites residents and taxpayers to comment on this resolution. If you have any comments or questions, please step up to the microphone and identify yourself. Seeing none, we'll go back to the board. Any other final comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Okay, motion passes 9-0. Okay. The next item on our agenda is the resolution in support of fair funding of education. The action under consideration is that the Board of School Directors adopts the following resolution, which is on page 135, in support of fair funding of education. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a proper first and a second. We will turn to Dr. Torres to provide some additional context.
Good evening. The Ad Hoc Legislative Committee met on Thursday, February 22nd, 2024, and reviewed the resolution in support of fair funding of education and is recommending it to the Board of School Directors for adoption. The text of the resolution can be found on page 134 and 5 of the agenda materials. Ms. Marianne Piccioni, Chair of the Committee, provided background information on the resolutions and recent work by the Chester County School Board Legislative Council. Other area districts are discussing or considering passing similar resolutions. The resolution in support of fair funding of education addresses recent legal rulings and reports regarding public education funding in Pennsylvania. It highlights the Commonwealth's court's ruling on the state's failure to provide equitable education opportunities and the subsequent recommendations of the Basic Education Funding Commission, or BEFC. There is not yet a formal recommendation for a specific remedy. At the same time, there have been legislative proposals for the Pennsylvania Award for Student Success, or PASS scholarships. These scholarships would enable the use of public funds for use toward attendance at private schools. The resolution calls on Governor Shapiro and the General Assembly to enact legislation based on the BEFC report's common recommendations and to address disparities in education, support for various educational programs, and improvements in facilities and teacher support. This resolution expresses opposition to the PASS program for the following reasons. Concerns about diverting public funds away from public schools without evidence of improved academic outcomes, lacking accountability measures, and for potentially supporting scholarships for students in non-public schools who do not demonstrate financial need or attend low-achieving schools. If passed, the resolution will be shared with local legislators representing the Tredyffrin Easttown School District and the Governor of Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Dr. Torres. With that, I will turn to the board, see if there are any questions or comments. Yes, Ms. Audrain.
Yes, I fully support the robust funding of our public education system and believe that it needs to be rigorously defended. However, when the Basic Education Funding Committee made their recommendations, they recommended the recommendations to the governor, the General Assembly, and the State Board of Education. Some of the work that they recommended has already begun. Proficiency evaluations for each school district were conducted, and you'll be not surprised to know that TE was considered a successful school and a role model for other school districts. They also calculated adequacy targets for each school districts. Some school districts received an additional $1 million in funding due to this evaluation. Since the actions or recommendations were made to the Governor, General Assembly, and State Board of Education, I feel that the appropriate area for this to be addressed is not through a school board resolution, but through action at the legislative session. So I will be abstaining from the vote for this resolution tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Audrain. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Ms. Piccioni.
I highlighted at the committee meeting that we have, the district has on their website 7 resolutions. This would be the 8th that addresses school funding. So with the court order, with a new governor, with new legislators in place, it behooves us to once again add our voice to the, I believe there's 9 school districts in Chester County alone that have signed on or are about to sign on to a similar resolution that came out of the Chester County School Board Legislative Council. So, and Chester County's chair of that council is looking to obtain resolutions in the surrounding counties in the southeastern region to support the work of the Basic Education Funding Commission. And so we would simply add another resolution that supports public school funding, in addition to pointing out to our neighbors who participate in non-public schools that we have programs for school choice here, and also the flaws that are evident in the particular program, such as PASS. So it's my hope that this resolution will be passed on that basis. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ms. Piccioni. Any other comments or questions for now from the board? Dr. Hadinsky.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'll be supporting this resolution. I think anytime we're going through a budget process, it's good to add our voices to the chorus that support fair funding in education, and particularly when there are big issues afoot, such as this year when we're talking about potential big changes in funding. I think it's good to make our priorities clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Ms. Weil.
Just also adding my support to the resolution, I am not sure I see a downside in our supporting it, and I think that adding our, as Dr. Ratinsky said, adding our voices to something which affirms that public funding should go to public education, that funding for public education should go to public education cannot be a bad thing. So I will also be supporting the resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Weil. Any other comments or questions from the board? Seeing none for now, the board now invites residents and taxpayers to comment on this resolution. If you have comments or questions, please step to the microphone, identify yourself, Township of Residents. And reminder, comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Jay Joyce from Tredyffrin. Is this on? Is this on? Well, that's better. Jay Joyce from Tredyffrin. This is the first I'm hearing of this resolution, and it seems like we're trying to we want to direct funding only for school districts like Tredyffrin Easttown, but we would not want funding for school choice for things like charter schools, which, by the way, are public schools. And it might sound great in Tredyffrin, we have this great school, but there's a lot of school districts that don't have great schools, and these charter schools do need school choice, they need alternatives because their school systems are failing, like Upper Darby. There are people here for which Tredyffrin Easttown is not working. They'd like to go someplace else, but they can't because they can't get the funding. So I would say vote against it because we need more choice in schools. You're all Democrats. I bet you all believe in my body, my choice. How about my kid, my choice? For those reasons, I urge you to vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joyce. Do we have any other comments from the public on this resolution? Seeing none, we'll go back to the board. Yes, Ms. Piccioni.
Thank you. I need to note that in the paragraph it does state that the PA law already provides for public school choice opportunities in the form of charter schools, and whereas a program already exists in the form of the Educational Improvement Tax Credit Opportunity Student Tax Scholarship that provides taxpayer-supported scholarships for students in low-achieving schools to attend non-public schools. So that is also addressed here in our resolution. To point out to our non-public school neighbors that there are opportunities that some people may not be aware of. I know when I was in the city, I was not aware, when my children were growing up in the city, Philadelphia, I was not aware that this was available, and my children attended non-public schools. So I just want to point that out for our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Piccioni. Any other comments or questions from the board? Yes, Mr. Hong.
I would also add to that a key part of our resolution is to oppose any proposals for funding those non-public schools that lack robust academic and fiscal accountability, and that are directed towards students who are neither low income nor residing within boundaries of low achieving schools. So I think we would support robust academic and fiscal accountability for funds going to non-public schools. We would support funds going to students who are low income and residing within boundaries of low income schools under this proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Hong. Any other comments or questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, I think we're now ready for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Okay, with that, I think motion passes 8-0 to 1. Okay, we are now up to item 11 on our agenda, public participation from district residents and district taxpayers regarding non-agenda matters of concern, official action or deliberation which are or may be before the board. Residents and taxpayers may address the board on matters not included to the agenda. If you have such a comment, please step up to the mic and introduce yourself and your township of residence.
J. Joyce Tredifferent. I came here tonight, and two of my friends are here. They are Stan Killen and Susan Medea, and they're both bus drivers. And they're not allowed to speak because they're not taxpayers. They should be allowed to speak because they're employees. But it seems that there was a pay increase for bus drivers that took effect November 27th, and all the other school districts around us that use the same carrier, like Great Valley, and which ones were they? Great Valley, Westchester, and Downingtown, all had a retroactive pay increase back to the beginning of the year, but we haven't done that. So by their calculations, to have a retroactive pay increase would be about $45,000. And it seems to me that I've sat through committee meetings where the athletic fields were originally scheduled to be $19 million, and I sat through a committee meeting where they just dropped out $28 million and no one batted an eyelash over that. And it seems to me that for $45,000, I think they deserve their retroactive pay increase. I've been through many meetings where we scratch our heads wondering how to keep bus drivers, how to treat them fairly, and so on. Well, how would you feel if all the other districts around you with the same carrier are getting a retroactive pay increase and you're not? I know if I were a bus driver, I'd be looking out for the exit ramp, or if I couldn't get off the exit ramp, I'd be really angry. And the last thing I want is my granddaughter to be on a bus with an angry bus driver because they didn't get a pay increase and they didn't feel they were treated fairly. So I would urge you to consider this action. They did send a letter to you. I don't know, did anyone read the letter? Did anyone get it? Letter, it says, we are writing on behalf of the school bus drivers who serve the Tredifferent Easttown School District from the Kraft Bus Company. We were recently notified of the new school bus driver pay rates for 23-24, and we thank you for the increase. The regs are effective and so on. Did anyone read the letter? Went to the school board.
Are you done with your comment? Because as I asked,
I'm done with my comment.
Okay. So with that, I'll answer your question. The answer is yes, we did receive it, or at least I know I received it. I can't speak for anybody else. We will take that comment like we did with that email and that letter under advisement. To clarify one of your comments, just to be clear for the folks watching at home, our bus drivers, who we value very much, though, are not employees of the district. They are employees of the bus companies, and so as you know, attending a number of these meetings, the discussion about pay increases involves not just decision by the district, but also our third-party vendors who employ those individuals. And so there are discussions that would need to be had in that context. So with that clarification, again, we will take these comments under advisement, and we can report back.
That seems to make no sense that
Mr.
the
Joyce, your time is
bus
up.
driver,
Sir.
that the carrier is
Mr. Joyce.
giving them to other school districts and not
Mr.
to us.
Joyce.
It doesn't make sense.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes, I heard you. All right. Sometimes 3 minutes isn't enough. You should expand it to 5.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments from residents or taxpayers? Okay, seeing none, the public comment period for this evening, all public comment periods for this evening are now closed. This is the point in our meeting when we make any announcements required by the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act. Our solicitor this evening is Ken Roos, and he will make any required announcements.
Thank you. Board did hold executive session prior to this meeting. The topics were specific personnel matters and also the real estate update regarding the 1200 Sweetsford Road real estate acquisition. That was all the executive session topics.
Thank you, Mr. Roos. So now we're on to future meetings of the school board. Future meetings, Monday, March 11th, 2024, our budget workshop, our first budget workshop 1, 7:30 p.m. here at Conestoga High School, which will be preceded by the Finance Committee meeting. So remember, next Finance Committee meeting is here at Conestoga. Next board meeting will be Wednesday, March 13th, 2024. We will have a special board meeting here, again, 7:30 p.m. at Conestoga High School, where we plan to discuss, I should say, the acquisition of 1200 West Sweetsford Road. Meetings after that, Monday, March 18th, regular board meeting, 7:30 p.m., again here at Conestoga High School. Next Monday, March 8th, 2024, our second budget workshop, 7:30 p.m. here at Conestoga High School. And after that, Monday, April 29th, 2024, regular school board meeting, 7:30 p.m., Conestoga, here again at Conestoga High School. I believe we have information about 2024 participation in winter sports on page 138 of our agenda. I will now turn to the board for any general announcements. Yes, Dr. Allen.
So, thank you, President. I wanted to just mention that earlier today in our discussion, there, one of our student representatives mentioned that DECA had a state competition, and we took 180 Conestoga High School students to Hershey to compete. And as one of the chaperones, I would just like to send a huge thank you to our teacher advisors, Jeffrey, Connor, and Ashley Carter. And just again, to give some statistics, there were like 180 students competing, 4 very large charter buses. We stayed 2 nights, 13 chaperones, and on our way home, we ordered 60 boxes of pizza. And I just can't tell you how I've been chaperoning this trip for 3 years. I've gone to the districts, the state, and the international competition for 3 years in a row now. And this was the most organized event that I think I've ever had, even outside of the school district. But just a huge congratulations, because wrangling all those kids and chaperones and nurses and all of the things, it's a huge endeavor. But I mean, I felt like I knew what I was supposed to do, when I was supposed to do it, what rooms I was supposed to check, and all of that, and the pizza that I was supposed to order. So, just a big kudos to our teachers. There were other teachers there also helping out. I don't know their names, and our nurses that were there. And again, 13 chaperones were there. And I just wanted every now and then. I know that it may be voluntary for some of our teachers, but it was just such a tremendous event. And congratulations to all the students who competed, and for those who are moving on to the international competition, we wish in Anaheim, California, of course, we wish them good luck. Oh, Lex. Thank you.
He's one.
Any other announcements from the board? Yes, Dr. Hatinsky.
Yes, I'd just like to inform everyone I've been selected to participate in the first PSBA International Study Group to Germany. It's going to be there's going to be a trip in April 13th through 20th. I'll be traveling to Germany, flying to Frankfurt, and then traveling to Hanover, Köln, and Dortmund to talk to representatives of the German government, educational agencies, and schools, and to visit schools to see what kind of lessons we might bring back to Pennsylvania. There's a particular interest in their vocational education and the integration of career and traditional academic training. So I just wanted to clarify that's funded by the PSBA Trust, and there is a contribution that needs to be made, but it will be at no expense to the district. I'm paying the contribution myself. And just to invite, and I've also spoken to our attorney to make sure there's no conflicts of interest involved. But I wanted to invite anybody, if you have particular questions about the German educational system that you would like me to ask along the way, or any other issues you'd like to discuss, I'm open to meeting with anyone to discuss that further. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hatinsky. That sounds like a great opportunity, so congratulations. We'll expect a report back.
That German major came in handy.
Okay, any other general announcements? I would be remiss if I didn't put in a plug again for the musical. It's someone who has had kids who have participated in the pit orchestra every year for the past dozen or so years at the musical. It is a really amazing production. I highly encourage any and all to attend. It is amazing what our kids can put together in such a short time. It's really a high quality production. So with that, I don't see any other general announcements. Correspondence is listed on page 139, received by the board. And with that, I will call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Don't see any. Meeting's adjourned.